If you ever tried selling a home in California while a tenant's still living in it, then you already know this is not your average real estate sale. This is not a normal listing, and it's not a simple put on the market and wait for offer situation. Selling a tenant-occupied home in California is a completely different experience with different timeline, different rules, different emotions, different strategies, and honestly, a completely different level of complexity. And most sellers have no idea what they are walking into until they're already knee-deep in it. With tenants who won't respond, tenants who will not cooperate or who feel blindsided, buyers who can't get in, and agents who are unsure what they legally can or cannot do. Strict tenants' rights, strict notice requirements, strict relocation laws, and strict eviction restrictions, and a marketplace where one wrong move can put the seller at risks of delays, legal problems, or financial loss. So today we're going to talk about all of it, not the vague talk and attorney version, not the watered down, it depends version, but the real, practical, step-by-step California-specific guide that actually helps a seller move forward with confidence. I'm going to break down what rights are, what the tenant's rights are, what your options are, and how to approach the tenant without creating tension, and whether you can sell with tenants inside, when you have to offer relocation assistance, and how showings work, and how to handle uncooperative tenants, and how to get the property ready, and how to sell for the highest price without violating any of California's strict tenant laws. If you own a rental property here in Santa Clarita Valley or in California in general and you want to sell it, this may be the most important video you watch this year. So let's get into it. Hi, my name is Rima Rafeh with the Rafeh Group here with eXp Realty. I've helped landlord, investors, and homeowners all over the state navigate the incredibly challenging process of selling tenant-occupied home. And in every situation, I've learned one big lesson. The success of the sale depends more on strategy than on the condition of the home. It depends on communication, understanding the law, on timing, and it depends on whether you as the seller go into the process prepared. Because selling a tenant-occupied home in California is not impossible, but it must be done right. So let's start with the foundation of everything, is the relationship between the seller and the tenant. The relationship will determine the tone of the entire sale. Most of the issues arise from showing complications, access problems, resistant delays, come from the tenants who feel blindsided, disrespected, or afraid what will happen to them when the property sells. Tenants are not thinking about your equity or your timeline. They're thinking, where am I supposed to live? Will the rent go up? Will I get evicted? Can I even afford to move? Are they trying to push me out? Fear creates resistance. Resistance complicates the sale. So the very first step, and one most landlords skip, is preparing the tenants emotionally. A respectful conversation, clear communication, and acknowledgement that the sale affects them deeply can make the entire process smoother. Now let's talk about the legal side, because California has some of the strongest tenant protection in the country. And in most cases, tenants cannot be forced out just because a seller wants to sell. If you are selling a home in Santa Clarita Valley or in the LA area or California in general, you basically have two pathways. You either sell the home with tenants in place, or you legally terminate the tenancy before the sale under the conditions the law allows. Neither option is simple, but both have rules. Both have consequences. Seller with tenant in place in the path many sellers choose because it avoids immediate conflict and avoids the legal process of tenant relocation or tenant termination. But selling with tenants still means something else. You need the tenant's cooperation. In California, tenants have rights to privacy and quiet enjoyment. That means you cannot show the property whenever you feel like it. You cannot enter without notice. You cannot pressure the tenant. The law requires proper written notice and the showings must be reasonable. If the tenant refuses access, becomes difficult, or stops responding, you cannot simply force showings. This is why communication in the beginning is so crucial, because the tenant can influence how easy or difficult will be to sell. Now, the second pathway is ending the tenancy. It's more complex. Whether you can end the tenancy before the sale depends on the type of lease, the local city laws, and the type of buyer purchasing, and whether you fall under no-fault relocation requirements. In many parts of California, especially under rent control or just cause protections, a seller must pay relocation fees if they ask a tenant to move for reasons such as selling the home. This can cost thousands of dollars depending on the city. Some sellers prefer to pay relocation because it gives them full access of the home, allows them to stage it, repair it, clean it, and sell it for top dollar. Other sellers prefer to avoid the relocation cost and sell to investors who will keep the tenant. It all depends on your timeline, your budget, and your goals. But here's the part that nobody explained. Selling with tenant inside does not always mean selling for less. Many investors will pay a premium for a property that already has tenant in place, especially if the tenant is consistent, responsible, and paying market or near market rent. And also, selling vacant does not always mean selling for more. Vacant homes that look worn and outdated may actually appear worse than tenant-occupied homes that feel lived in, functional, and familiar. So the idea that you must remove tenant to sell for top dollar is not always true. It depends on the property, the location, the buyer, and the condition. Now let's talk about the biggest issue sellers face is showings. When a home is tenant occupied, you cannot stage it, declutter it, rearrange it, brighten it, control the smell, control the lighting, or control the cleanliness. You can't always control access, and you cannot always control how the home looks to buyers. That's why presentation strategies matter. We need to position the home differently. We need to prepare buyers of what they will see, and we need to highlight the investment potential. We need to present the value clearly so buyers understand the opportunity, not the inconvenience. And here's something many people do not realize. When investors buy homes with tenants, they're not expecting a perfect home. They're expecting numbers to make sense, they're expecting stability, they're expecting the tenant to be consistent, and they're expecting potential future upside. Selling a tenant-occupied home is not just about the property, it's about the story the property tells investors. Now let's talk about uncooperative tenants, because this is where most sellers panic. What happens if the tenants refuse showings? And what happens if they don't communicate? And what happens if they make it difficult? The answer doesn't depend on local laws, but there's the truth. If a tenant refuses access completely and consistently, they may be violating their lease. However, taking action against the tenant mid-sale almost always backfires for sellers. A tenant who feels attacked becomes even less cooperative and may delay the sale further. There are better approaches like incentives, courtesy, clear communication, specific showings windows, respectful schedulings, gift cards, discounted rent, or relocation assistance if needed. A cooperative tenant can make your sales smooth, and cooperative tenant can destroy your timeline. That's why I always tell sellers the relationship with your tenant is an asset. Treat them like a partner, not an obstacle. As we move through this process, you'll notice something important. Selling a home with tenant in California is really about managing people, not just managing paperwork. Your success depends on how you communicate, how you position the property, how you respect the tenant, how you navigate the law, and how your agent orchestrates everything behind the scenes. And there's another major point sellers don't hear enough. California buyers come in two categories: consumers and investors, and each looks at tenant-occupied homes differently. Consumer buyers, family, couples, first-time buyers often do not want tenants unless the property can be delivered vacant. But investor buyers, they love tenant-occupied homes. They want immediate income, they want established tenants, and they want predictable cash flow. And in some cases, investors will pay more for a strong tenant than for a vacant home. This is why pricing strategy matters so much. You don't market a tenant-occupied home the same way you market a vacant home. You market it to the right people. So as we wrap up, let me say this clearly. Selling a home with tenants in Los Angeles area, California is absolutely possible. And you can do it without stress, without confusion, and without legal trouble if you have the right guidance. The key is understanding your rights, understanding your tenant's right, and understanding the strategy your agents need to use. When all three align, the process becomes smooth, predictable, and successful. If you're thinking of selling a tenant-occupied home or even considering it, comment tenant below or message me directly. I'll walk you through options based on your city, your lease, and your tenant situation. Because in California, every scenario is different. I'm Rima Rafeh with the Rafeh Group, helping sellers navigate complicated situations with confidence, clarity, and the right strategy. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for someone who's thinking of selling with tenant in place. And we'll see you in the next video.